So the seed event is back, guys, and it's almost 100% fixed. I think the majority of the problems that we had in the first test of the seed event were basically fixed. I mean, I can include here the imbalance of power, basically, that the attackers and defenders had. That was pretty much solved, apart from some situations, but I think it depends very much on the players. The annoying, you know, spawn campers, that they kind of fixed that as well. The amount of rewards, they improve it, so a lot of things were fixed, but there are still 3 things that I believe that need to happen to this event to be perfect, basically, to have even as an ongoing event mode that we can actually play. The first thing would be missiles. Yes, anti-radiation missiles, especially these first ones from the you know, mid to late 60s. They were pretty bad missiles. They were missiles that normally didn't track too much, and I mean, they tracked and it was something that worked, but it had like around what, 10% of hit rates, something like that. So it was, of course, missing a lot of shots, just like any other missile from that time, right? Since that is the case, and I don't think it would be an OP weapon, I still believe that we need anti-radiation missiles and a rebalancing, if needed, of the event. Just because it's realistic, and just because I think it would be way more fun and realistic to have anti-radiation missiles. Remember, these aircraft, they don't take a lot of them. They take 2, maybe 4 of these missiles initially, so it's not gonna break the game. It's not gonna be easy, you know. The range on these missiles is very limited. The very early ones have a very limited range. Of course, I'm talking mainly about the Shrike missile, right, which is the AGM 45, and I mean, initially they say it has around 16 kilometers, but to be honest, guys, like real life shots from these missiles would occur at lower than 10, even 6 kilometers sometimes. So yeah, it's a very low range missile, and maybe they could actually, you know, do some other things if they, you know, think it's too OP or not too OP. For example, they can increase the range, adding better versions of the missile. There are situations where there were shots coming from 20-25 kilometers in the more powerful raiders like the Fansong one, so in real life, right? So it means that you know, we can have, you know, balancing factors drawing a real, like, effect on these missiles when they are added, but they need to be added no matter what, in my opinion. The second thing is the RWRs, but not really RWRs. If you don't know, the Wild Weasels had a whole bunch of systems in their aircraft to find where the AAs were, right? Of course, they improved that with the RWRs of the F4E now, identifying what is an S-75 site, you know. Before it wasn't identifying, so now it's a little bit better on that regard. But at the end of the day, guys, especially like the first ones, like the F-100F, for example, which was one of the first aircraft that they used, had a bunch of systems, like 3 or 4 systems that would basically to help the pilot and the you know, the Rio, or whatever you want to call it, to actually find these AA sites. You know, I think it's kind of, I mean, again, balancing needs to happen after like additions like this, but if you play with the F4s, you will see that sometimes you are just flying around and you get shot down by the Shilkas, because it's really hard to find sometimes the S-75 sites, right? You don't really get the measurement on how this would work. So I'm not gonna get exactly how these systems work. There are plenty of videos in YouTube that you can, you know, read about the Wild Weasel squadrons and stuff and how these systems worked, but they had a bunch of systems to help them pinpoint where the targets were, and with that, then later another aircraft would come with missiles or bombs, or even the aircraft itself that detected, right? So I think it needs to happen. It had around like 3 or 4 systems, you know, vector radar homing and warning receivers, panoramic receivers, you know, so with a greater detection range, so you could actually you know, having the F-100F, for example, an aircraft that can pinpoint the exact direction that the S-75 is in the proper distance in a way inside the game, and not just the RWR kind of showing where it is, right? So that would be cool as well. And the last thing, of course, this is just a test, so it doesn't matter too much, you know, when it is added to World War mode and whatever places they add the seed mission mode. We need more aircraft, obviously, right? I still believe in this test we need more aircraft to make sure that the balancing is happening. So we need more aircraft. We need, if it's around that era, you know, of aircraft, F4As and MiG-21Bs, so around the 70s, I mean, F-105s can be added. We can have, you know, Su-7s. You can have, I mean, for the jet fighters, I mean, the Russians, we can have MiG-23s and other things, but I think it's more towards the Vietnam era, like, kind of situation, so it would be the MiG-21, but they can add the MiG-23M, for example, without being too OP. That aircraft actually suffers. Maybe remove the R-60M to fight against the F4Es, right, or something like that. You know, other nations can be added as well. I mean, although it is Vietnam-based, I mean, it's in a lot of maps right now, so we can have in many maps, right? So we just need more aircraft being able to play in that game, you know. Maybe the Corsair, you know, the A7, maybe a Navy F4, I don't know, like whatever Gaijin wants, but we need more aircraft, I think, to be fun. And this is pretty much it, guys. So basically 3 things that I think are needed for this event to be perfect. It is already very fun, but I still believe we can have a lot more fun if we receive these 3 things, right? So let me know in the comments what you think. You know, what do you think it's needed in this event to be perfect? And yeah, so I see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and bye.